My name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today we're going to talk about Stevie Young. Well, AC/DC is finally back on the road after almost a decade, and as you might know, Malcolm Young sadly passed away in 2017, and since 2014 he was no longer an active member of the group. He battled with dementia for a few years before he passed away, and in 2014 Stevie Young was announced as his official replacement. Now you might think, oh, I know who Stevie Young is. All right, you might know who Stevie Young is, but I'm gonna tell you some interesting things about him that you might not know. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and leave your comment below. What do you think? What's your opinion about Stevie? Do you think he's doing a good job filling in for Malcolm? He's respecting Malcolm's legacy? Is he playing the right way? And well, let's continue. The interesting thing about Stevie, as you might know, he is Angus and Malcolm's nephew, but they're practically about the same age, and that's, you know, one of the interesting things about them. Stevie, first of all, if you don't want to watch the video, you can go to the description and read the article we made about Stevie. This video is inspired by the article we wrote, okay? So Stevie, he's the son of Stephen Crawford Young. Stephen Crawford Young, he was the eldest brother of Angus, Malcolm, and George and Alex. Now, George and Alex were extremely important for the early days of AC/DC, especially George, who was a member of the Easy Beats, a really nice group from the 60s. We had a worldwide hit, which was oh my god, what's the song? It's a great track. Let me just give me a moment. Friday on My Mind. Okay, Friday on My Mind, great track. If you haven't heard it yet, check it out. So he was the eldest brother of all of them, a really musical family, but unlike Malcolm and Angus, he like all of the brothers, he immigrated to Australia. They were born in Scotland, and he immigrated from Scotland to Sydney, Australia in 1963. But unlike Malcolm and Angus, for example, he returned to Scotland in 1970, 3 years before AC/DC was formed. So obviously they were not living in the same area anymore. But in the early days, the funny thing is that since they're about the same age, Stevie went to the same school as Malcolm and Angus when they're in the 60s. And it's really crazy how you're gonna go to it's a crazy thing to think you going to the same school as your uncles, and they're practically the same age. Because Stevie was born in 1956, and Angus was born in 1955. So Angus is only 1 year older than Stevie, and Malcolm was a little bit older than both of them. He was born in 1953. So Malcolm was only 3 years older than Stevie, and they had a really close relationship since the 60s. Obviously, they practically went to the same school together, but unlike his uncles, he started his musical career a little later in life. Obviously, Malcolm and Angus especially had been playing together since they were teenagers, and obviously they formed the AC/DC in 1973. And Stevie officially started his musical career in only 1979. The same year, AC/DC, for example, released Highway to Hell, which was the final and probably the most successful, obviously the most successful and probably the most classic album with the late legendary singer Bon Scott. And curiously, already in the first year, he was part of many bands in Scotland at that time, from 1979 on. He was part of groups called the Stabbers, Prowler, and Tantrum. And he had another band which was called Starfighters, which was formed in 1980 in Birmingham, in England, same place Black Sabbath, Judas Priest started. And already in 1990, they were formed in 1980, and they already became AC/DC's opening act during the Back in Black tour. So, you had Angus and Malcolm already trying to help Stevie with his band at the time. And a few years later, he even had the chance with that group to open, to be Ozzy Osbourne's opening act. So that's another interesting thing about it. And Stevie, in the following decades, in the following years, continued to be part of many groups, but obviously none of them achieved the status of AC/DC, and they never had the chance to really become really famous and etc. And another curious thing about him is that Stevie has a son, and the name of his son is Angus. I mean, he named one of his sons Angus, and that's another really curious thing about it. Well, I don't know if it was because of Angus Young. Maybe they have someone else in the family, and if you know that, please leave in the comment that called Angus, and he wanted to pay tribute to that. But it's just curious, your uncle is called Angus, and you give the name to your son Angus too, and now you're playing with him in the band. You're his bandmate. But although Stevie only joined AC/DC in 2014 officially, he already was Malcolm Young's replacement for a while in 1988. And that happened when Malcolm when AC/DC was promoting their really underrated album called Blow Up Your Video. Stevie filled in for Malcolm, since Malcolm was at the time at the rehab because he was struggling with alcohol addiction at the time. So he had to take some time out of the band to recover. And that was the first time Stevie filled in for Malcolm. And that obviously, almost 20 years later, he became officially Malcolm's replacement. And as Angus said many times, every time Malcolm wanted, it was Malcolm's wish that AC/DC continued. And he said that they should get Stevie. It was a direct order, if someone's going to replace me, get Stevie. That was Malcolm's wish, and that's why, obviously, aside from Stevie's talent and ability that we all seen over the past years, it was Malcolm's wish that Stevie was the one to replace him. And since then, he was part of these great albums AC/DC released. Since then, you had Rock or Bust in 2014, and obviously the most recent one, Power Up, which is just amazing. And although no one can really replace Malcolm, no one can play like Malcolm did 100%, but he's doing in my opinion, a really good job, and he did really good job in the past two albums he recorded with the band. And at least, if you think about it, now that AC/DC hired two touring musicians, who are the drummer Matt Log and Chris Chaney, the bassist Chris Chaney. At least in Malcolm's place, they kept in the family, and they kept they used someone who already had a connection with them, who already had played with them. And I think that was a really cool and nice thing to do. You keep it in the family, and one way or another, it feels like it's someone really more connected with Malcolm than if they have chosen some great session rhythm guitarist. I think they really made the right call in that. And that's it. I hope you now know a little bit about who Stevie Young is and these interesting infos about him. And that's it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and leave your comment below. Tell me what you think. And tell me if you're going to see AC/DC now in this Power Up tour, okay? Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.